Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a pressing issue that's on everyone's mind: the inflation. You might have noticed prices creeping up at the grocery store or at the gas pump, but have you ever wondered why this happens and what it truly means for your everyday life? In this video, we'll take you on a journey through the causes and consequences of inflation, breaking down complex economic concepts into simple, relatable insights. We'll reveal the surprising ways inflation affects not just your spending but also your savings and investments. Stick with us as we uncover the hidden truths about inflation and arm you with the knowledge you need to thrive in today's economy. But before we start, I want to introduce myself. I am Dr. B. I publish scientific and cultural content on my channel. I also publish horror stories. If you are interested in this content, subscribe to my channel and activate the bell button to receive all that is new. Let's get started. Inflation is an economic phenomenon characterized by a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. This rise in prices means that the purchasing power of currency diminishes, leading to a decrease in the amount of goods and services that can be bought with a given amount of money. Inflation is typically measured using various indices, with the Consumer Price Index (CPI) and the Producer Price Index (PPI) being the most common. The CPI tracks changes in the price level of a basket of consumer goods and services, while the PPI measures changes in the price level from the perspective of the seller. There are several causes of inflation, which can be broadly categorized into demand pull inflation and cost push inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds their supply, often due to increased consumer spending, government expenditure, or investment. Cost push inflation, on the other hand, arises from increases in the costs of production, such as wages and raw materials, which can lead businesses to raise prices to maintain profit margins. Inflation can have both positive and negative effects on the economy. Moderate inflation is often seen as a sign of a growing economy, as it can encourage spending and investment. However, high or unpredictable inflation can erode savings, create uncertainty in the market, and lead to decreased consumer confidence. Central banks, such as the Federal Reserve in the United States, typically aim to manage inflation through monetary policy, using tools like interest rate adjustments and open market operations to influence the money supply and stabilize prices. Inflation can be categorized into several types based on its causes, characteristics, and effects on the economy. Here are the main types of inflation. 1. Demand pull inflation. This type occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds their supply. It is often described as too much money chasing too few goods. Factors contributing to demand pull inflation include increased consumer spending, government expenditure, and investment. When demand increases, prices tend to rise as businesses struggle to keep up with consumer needs. 2. Cost push inflation. Cost push inflation happens when the costs of production increase, leading businesses to raise prices to maintain their profit margins. This can result from rising wages, increased prices for raw materials, or supply chain disruptions. When the cost of producing goods rises, businesses may pass those costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices. 3. Built-in inflation, also known as wage price inflation. This type occurs when businesses increase prices to cover higher wage costs, and workers demand higher wages to keep up with rising prices. This cycle can create a self-perpetuating loop where wages and prices continuously rise, leading to sustained inflation. 4. Hyperinflation. Hyperinflation refers to an extremely high and typically accelerating rate of inflation, often exceeding 50% per month. This can result in a rapid loss of confidence in a currency, leading to a situation where prices rise uncontrollably. Hyperinflation is often associated with economic collapse or extreme political instability. 5. Stagflation. Stagflation is a situation where inflation occurs alongside stagnant economic growth and high unemployment. This combination is particularly challenging for policymakers, as traditional tools to combat inflation such as raising interest rates can further hinder economic growth and increase unemployment. 6. Core inflation. Core inflation measures the long-term trend in prices by excluding volatile items such as food and energy. This type of inflation is often used by central banks to gauge underlying inflation trends and make informed monetary policy decisions. 7. Creeping inflation. This type of inflation is characterized by a low, steady increase in prices, typically around 1 to 3% per year. It is generally considered manageable and can be a sign of a healthy economy. 8. Galloping inflation. Galloping inflation refers to a more rapid increase in prices, often ranging from 10% to 50% per year. This type can create significant uncertainty in the economy and may require intervention from policymakers to stabilize prices. Now let's talk about the reasons of inflation. Here are 7 common reasons for inflation. 1. Demand pull inflation. This occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds their supply. As consumers compete for limited resources, prices increase. 2. Cost push inflation. When the costs of production rise due to increases in wages, raw materials, or energy costs, producers may pass these costs on to consumers, leading to higher prices. 3. Monetary policy. Central banks can influence inflation by changing interest rates and money supply. An increase in the money supply, often used to stimulate the economy, can lead to higher inflation if it outpaces economic growth. 4. Supply chain disruptions. Events such as natural disasters, pandemics, or geopolitical tensions can disrupt supply chains, leading to shortages of goods. These shortages can drive up prices. 5. Expectations of future inflation. If consumers and businesses expect prices to rise in the future, they may spend more now, increasing demand and pushing prices up. This phenomenon can create a self-fulfilling cycle of inflation. 6. Wage price spiral. When workers demand higher wages to keep up with rising living costs, businesses may raise their prices to cover these increased labor costs. This can create a cycle where higher wages lead to higher prices, which in turn leads to further wage demands. 7. Fiscal policy. Government spending can also contribute to inflation. If a government increases its spending significantly without corresponding revenue, like through taxes, it can boost overall demand in the economy, potentially leading to inflation, especially if the economy is already operating near full capacity. Here are 6 effects of inflation. 1. Decreased purchasing power. As prices rise, the value of money decreases, leading consumers to be able to buy fewer goods and services with the same amount of money. 2. Cost of living increase. Inflation typically leads to higher costs for essential goods and services, which can strain household budgets and reduce overall living standards. 3. Uncertainty in investment. High inflation creates uncertainty in the economy, making it difficult for businesses and investors to make informed decisions about spending and investment, potentially slowing economic growth. 4. Wage price spiral. As prices rise, workers may demand higher wages to maintain their purchasing power. If wages increase, businesses may raise prices further, perpetuating inflation. 5. Interest rates impact. Central banks often raise interest rates to combat high inflation, leading to increased borrowing costs for consumers and businesses, which can dampen economic activity. 6. Redistribution of wealth. Inflation can benefit borrowers who repay debts with less valuable money while hurting savers whose savings lose value, leading to a redistribution of wealth within the economy. And that wraps up our deep dive into inflation. We hope this video has shed light on the factors driving rising prices and how they can affect your financial well-being. As we've seen, understanding inflation is crucial for making informed decisions about spending, saving, and investing. By staying proactive and applying the strategies we've discussed, you can mitigate the impact of inflation on your financial future. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our future content. We'd also love to hear from you. Share your experiences with inflation in the comments below and let us know how you're adapting. Thank you for watching, and remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay prepared, and see you in the next video.